John, ¿podrías compartir otra habilidad que puede ayudarnos a aprender a tomar esos obstáculos que todos tenemos en la vida y convertirlos en oportunidades?
Oh, yes. This one I love. In fact, this is one of my favorite skills to teach. I teach unselfish thinking. Now, what I mean by that is I teach us to think others first. Now, that's not natural. It's not natural for you. It's not natural for me. We're kind of born selfish, okay? And sometimes people say, "Oh, I'm not selfish at all." I said, "Okay, let's do the test. Let's do the selfish test." And here it is. The next time you're in a group photo, somebody's taking a picture of you and some of your friends. As soon as you look at that picture, let me ask you a question. Who's the first person you look for in that picture? You look for yourself, you know, and I look for me. You look for me. I mean, that's who we are. In fact, that's how we determine if it's a good group picture. If I look good, I say, "Good group picture. Send me that one." And if I don't look good, I say, "Oh, no. Let's take another picture. I don't look very good in that." You see, we look at ourselves. That's just who we are. I remember having a friend at work that was just selfish, and he was always consumed with his problems and his issues. And I remember after being with him at work for about a year, I asked him one day, I said, "Would you just kind of spend a half a day with me?" And we lived in Ohio at that time. And I took him in the car and I took him up to Columbus, Ohio to the Children's Hospital. And I took him in the leukemia ward where these precious little kids were not well and many of them were not going to live. And we spent a couple of hours just visiting the kids, playing with them. And we got back into the car and he was very quiet. And I looked at him and I said, "Bob, every time I'm around you, you talk about your problems, your issues. Now you've just seen little children, many of them who are not going to live. How big do you think your problems really are?"
Wow.
And he thanked me. I watched him turn around. Well, what happened is, for the first time, he began to be aware that he was selfish in his thinking. And he began to take his eyes off of himself, and he began to say, "I've got to begin to intentionally add value to other people." And that's the key. You kind of almost have to lose yourself to find yourself, and you find yourself when you no longer think selfishly, but you really think of adding value to you. For example, you've added immeasurably to my life, Ismael. You and I have been friends now for a few years. And what you have taught, how you have lived, your career has really added immeasurably to me. And you have done that because you think of others first, and you are not a selfish person. What's exciting is that's exactly what we're going to share with you. We're going to teach you how to get away from yourself so that you can connect with other people.
And it's an exercise that we have to keep doing every day, un ejercicio que tenemos que seguir haciendo todos los días. Wow. Ok, ¿cuál es el proceso entonces, John, de convertir los obstáculos en oportunidades?
There is a process.
Yes.
And that's why I think this is so important, because I have discovered that most people cannot figure it out on their own. If they could, they would already have no problems. They would already be thinking correctly. There are 3 things that you must do. Number 1, put obstacles and mistakes into the proper perspective. You see, you need to see obstacles, failures, and mistakes as problems that can be solved. When I was young, in my 20s, I began to realize I have problems, you have problems. All God's children got problems, okay? We got problems. So I began to ask myself one day, what is a problem? And I said, well, a problem is, first of all, a predictor. When a problem comes to me, it's a great indicator by my response of what kind of a person I am. And it's also a reminder. It's a reminder that life is tough and life is difficult, and there is no such thing as a problem-free life. But here was the key. I realized that problems also were opportunities. That in every problem that I had, there was a seed of a benefit and an opportunity. And if I could look beyond the problem, I would see right beyond the problem that was right in my face an opportunity for something positive. So I said to myself, problems are blessings to me. That's the day that I made failure and problems a friend of mine, not an enemy. So when they came to me, I didn't try to run from them, I tried to learn from them. Which means problems are also lessons. They have something to teach me. They're everywhere. I got them, you got them, we all got them. And they are messages to us. They send us a signal. If we keep having the same problem, it sends us a signal that there's something we haven't yet learned and haven't yet changed. And the good news is every problem is solvable. I don't know what your problem is, but it's solvable. But listen to me carefully. It will only be solvable for you if you change your thinking. That's why, again, I teach people how to think successfully. If you and I don't think correctly, it is impossible for us to solve our problems. What's beautiful, though, is that mistakes, they're not permanent. Failure is not final. And when we fail or we make a mistake, we do one of two things, Ismael. We either learn from it and really just stay there and let it teach us something so that we don't repeat it. Or sadly, what most people do is they leave it. They just kind of flee the scene. They say, "I'm out of here." Whoa, I'm a disclaimer. I'm not responsible. And if you leave your failure, you never learn from it. So you repeat it. The second thing is that we have to understand how opportunity works. And first, we have to understand that every obstacle gives us an opportunity. And what's it do? It gives us an opportunity to find a new path, to try a new way, to learn a new skill, to grow from a new experience. You know, Ismael, because I've been writing and teaching for 40 plus years, what I discovered is that when people have problems, they allow those problems, because they don't think correctly, to defeat them. And one day, it just hit me. And I want to share this with you, and I want to share this with your audience because this is so exciting. Listen to me. Every miracle begins with a problem. Now, let me say to you, I'm a person of faith, okay? Not asking you to be a person of faith, but I am. And so when I
Me too.
Okay. Well, there.
Yo también.
Esmael and I. Okay,
Dios
two
es
people
amor.
of faith. Okay. When you look at miracles in the Bible, there's only one thing, trust me on this, that every miracle has in common. And it is the fact that every miracle begins with a problem. There is no miracle without a problem. Now, I love this because when people have a problem, they say, "Oh my gosh, I got this problem." And I look at them and say, "Oh, no. If you think correctly, you're going to understand because you have this problem, you're a candidate for a miracle."
Wow.
In fact, let me explain it to you this way. The person who really has a problem is a person who has no problem. Because if you have no problem, you can't receive a miracle. Yeah. But the moment that you have a problem, now you're a candidate for a good thing to happen to you. We're talking about how do you take your obstacles and turn them into opportunities. And so when I see a problem now, I don't say, "Oh my gosh, another problem." I look at it and say, this is an opportunity for me to receive a miracle.
Soy un candidato para un milagro. A candidate for a miracle.
Absolutely. Hey, the only non-candidates are people who have no problem.
Yes. And who has no problems?
Let's put it this way. If you have no problem, you don't need any of my material, okay? You just don't. But if you have a problem, you do need some of my material, okay? So let's review. How do you and I take our obstacles and turn them into opportunities? Number one, put obstacles and mistakes into perspective. Number two, understand how opportunity works. And the third one is learn how to change your thinking. I read an article recently that said that people who win the lottery, they very quickly, a high percentage of them quickly lose their money. And I said, well, how does that happen? Why do they lose their money? And it's because although they've got money now, they haven't changed their thinking. Example, 150,000 winnings. Those people that have won the lottery, twice as many of those go bankrupt as the general population. Wow. Again, they haven't changed their thinking. I remember when I was wanting to become a better golfer, my instructor said, "John, you have to change your grip." And I remember I changed my grip and I got better results. And there would be times, though, that I really had an important shot, and I would find myself wanting to go back to the old grip because I was more familiar with it. And what I had to learn is what I want to teach you, and that is we have to make conscious change, and we have to continue to make it. And as I've watched people, I've watched when they make changes. People change usually for three reasons. First is the fact that they understand that change can happen, that it's personal with them, and that they need to change. In other words, they heard enough that they're saying, okay, I'm willing to make that change. Now, it's also possible that you will make change because you begin to understand through this program that it's possible for you to make that change. A lot of people, if they think it's not possible, then they say, I can't change. You're going to learn that you're able to change when you learn enough that you really, really want to. And again, that's what we're going to do. We're going to teach you things that will allow you to want to make that change. Change is profitable. It'll reward you. And so many times people change because they've received enough that they're really able to. In other words, okay, I've learned this, and now I can make that change. And what I have found, Ismael, as I have taught these ways to think, to be successful, I've watched people who, many of them were so hurting, they said, I got to make a change. I have no choice. This is not the right path. But what was so exciting is to watch those who would learn these thinking skills, and all of a sudden they began to make these incremental changes in their life. Now, no single change that you make in life will have a greater impact upon your life than changing your thinking. I guarantee that.